What's up, guys? Good morning. Joe here with Whitetail Habitat Solutions. Hope you guys are doing well. We are out here today doing a few things. One, we have all of our new trees that went in, and I'd like to start putting up that 4 or so foot, 5 foot tall fence around these trees, so that as they do eventually get out of these tree tubes, the deer can't be browsing them right off and stuff. Now, one of the things I will be doing in the future is probably pruning these a little bit, and that will be so that even though in the first few years we don't expect any mass, but even in kind of those middle years, 3, 4, 5, when they probably still won't produce, but even if they did produce a little bit of mass, so that it wouldn't be very much at all. And sometimes what we can do is force the tree to focus on its root system instead of the actual mass production itself. And what'll happen is, if we can really get the tree to focus on its root production, we can still prune it in the future, but then once it starts to produce mast, it'll produce it that much better. Even if we miss a poor year or two, making the tree kind of focus on the root system and not as much of putting all of its energy into growing that fruit, we might miss, again, a little bit of mass in the earlier years, but in the future, we'll have a much larger mass crop later, which is really neat. I want to show you. This is the only one I've looked at so far. See if I can line my camera up, and you can see some of the leaves and stuff growing down there, which is pretty awesome. We are just about at the 3-week mark, maybe a day shy. That's germinating as well. These right here that I'm looking at are our main attraction crab apple. We got another, I think a wild crab apple and a persimmon. And so far, we have leaf out on all of them. Again, I just got here, I just started looking. I can already see the leaves on this guy, so awesome. We've been zip tying these tubes shut, and we put some of this myocrhizae. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but it's essentially something the company sold us that acted as a little bit of a growth agent or fertilizer or what have you, to help the root system when we put these in. So everything seems to be going well. I've already dropped off some of our cage, some of our wire mesh, so that I can be out here. And it just rained about a ½ inch yesterday, which is awesome. Before that, it was moist out here, but we didn't get a ton of rain until a week or so prior. And it looks like going into Memorial Day here that we might have another week to 2 weeks without rain. So I'm gonna let this water take its course, and then I think I'm gonna grab one of those 275-gallon totes that many of us use for our water holes. They got the little spigot, throw it in the truck bed, maybe get like some kind of hose or attachment to just kind of gravity feed to some of these plants with my truck bed, driving around. If we're not getting a lot of rain, the ground's probably kind of hard, so I should be able to drive my truck out here and just put that in the bed and get a lot of these watered. So the other thing I'm doing is really picking up these flags. I plan to, I don't know if you can see this here, you can see the tree tubes and then some flags on the outside, and my plan was to do a nice row of switch around these trees here to the finger, and so it would be another protected plot. Again, we always want to be screening our plots, guys, and that could be with a variety of things. I have not bought an annual screen. I have some of our new switch that I'd really like to try, but we're getting to the point where it's got to be in the ground now. Love to possibly borrow a drill if that was possible, and do another spraying. So if moisture does come here still in late May, maybe early June, we'll see. I still might go for it and bring you guys the results. If it doesn't, I might try and just get an annual screen, put that up for this year. But anyway, I am removing some of these flags so the farmer kind of knows he still does this front part for me. We all kind of know, if you've been following Jeff and the channel, any of the channels for quite a while, that ag doesn't have too much of benefit, especially when we're planting quality food plots. So which I do, obviously. And so really this kind of front area acts as a little bit more of a screen. It's an area that I can allow to still have a little more food, because I don't have additional time to come back here and continue to take up more of this field with good habitat. If you've been following along on the channel, you'll know that back there we've been doing diversity pockets, numerous different types, but lately it's been the cuttings and trees that we've been putting in. And we've been fencing those off, doing the T-posts, putting weed barrier down, putting the cuttings in, and so on. And that has been maxed out on time between all the client trips that we have. And I've been gone and trying to do, you know, other family stuff. So I can't overtake and work on this field habitat wise anyway. So it's no burden to me. I love the relationship I have with many people here. Yeah, so he'll do that this year. I'll still work on my other stuff and kind of keep improving this habitat. We'll start this fencing, which will probably not be a one-day job. We have 35 trees, mass trees that need to be fenced. All the other cuttings are already fenced, but we're gonna go look at those here shortly, and we'll check out and see how the cuttings are due at this kind of 3-week mark. I showed you, I think, on 11-day or so. So excited to see it. We'll walk over there. All right, guys, I am finishing up the 10 trees in this area. Looking pretty good. Wanted to show you real quick how I'm doing this. Personally, just my little system I came up with. But you can see I'm rolling out my wire mesh here. And I have 5-foot T-posts. And I know that I want about 12 feet or so in circumference, a little over 4, I think, in diameter. So I'm just laying out 2 5-foot T-posts and then kind of measuring out 2 feet. And with that system, I've basically been finishing off these, are they 100-foot rolls? I think so. These 100-foot rolls about perfectly. And the last one might be a tad small or something if you're a few too many rows over, but I don't know how many then you're getting per roll. But anyway, it ends up coming about even. So, and then with my T-post, I pound the T-post in. I start on one side with the overlap. It pretty much stays in place when I take it around because it's kind of already in a circle. And then I just have been kind of cutting these on one end so that I can just kind of wrap the edges. And I've been doing every other one, and it's been enough. And then I'm just using these T-post clips. Probably only need one. I mean, there's not cattle laying on these. Even if some animals are pushing on it, like this isn't going anywhere. And I've been doing just 2 per T-post, so 4 clips. It's not taking that long. I mean, honestly, I could easily pretty much do them all 35 in this one day, but I'm gonna save the 4 or 5 persimmon and just the 10 or so chestnut, do those another day. But this system's working good. So just a quick check on some of our pines here that we've had in the switchgrass, the other diversity pockets. Now in the future, I probably will come back in here, clean the pockets up a little, maybe even do a little other weed barrier. If you even remember a couple of videos back when we put these, well, excuse me, it was last year we put these pines in actually with my buddy Mike, and they are doing okay. You can see them. So this is just going into its second growing year, and they were quite small. I wouldn't say it's put on a ton, but definitely still alive, and you can definitely see new growth coming off of here. So it'd be nice, you know, when this switch grows up to, even though I didn't plant switch in this pocket, to just kind of clean it up so it gets as much sunlight, can grow as well as possible. But my plan is to kind of hone in on these a little bit more in the future, where I will do that, you know, either weed whip or spray or do a little bit more to give them a good chance to grow. But at the same time, now that we have all these cuttings going, we can use more cuttings like we've been doing to put into these pockets and kind of really mix it up and give some food and some cover. But of course there are forbs and native browse and stuff coming up right now with the pines, which is great. You can kind of tell where it is in there where there's not much switch. It's just you know, kind of tough because you see last year's switch and all of the new switch is coming up down here at the bottom. So just to kind of reiterate for you guys, I don't know how well I can show this. You can see the kind of red stem down there on these grass pieces. You can see the red stem, and this is the new switch that is coming up, where you can see the old switch, and it's already over 1 foot high or more, which I would expect because we're in the middle of May. I almost think that in the second year it was coming a little faster, but it just depends on moisture and a couple things like that. The weeds are definitely racing upward in these areas, but I think the switch isn't too far behind. Can also do a little bit of mowing, but I wouldn't say absolutely necessary. I do think, just with my soil being mediocre, guys, that I'll probably mow at some point for sure to set things back, maybe towards the heat of the summer. so that I can really fill in and drown some of the weeds out and hopefully get a little better and better each year. You know, it often doesn't take a lot of maintenance, but a little maintenance can definitely go a long way with maintaining and creating a good stand to switch. So just wanted to show you guys that real quick. All right, guys, so we just got to this kind of mini plot that we have here. Put some of these oaks in. This is a sawtooth. See what you can see down there. That one already had some leaves on it when we planted it. It looks like some buds are coming out. The other two didn't have those dead leaves already on it, and they're budding out, so those are looking good. You can see the leftover crimson clover. All right, so most of these are budding out. I did want to remind you guys real quick, I did not fence in the persimmons yet. Again, it's only May 20th or so, that's Saturday, and the reason for that is because the persimmon is really the last to get going out of all these trees, and so only one of them had leafed out. There's a worm down there. Only one of them had leafed out, and I have this grow guarantee on these trees, and therefore I want to make sure before I fence them and have to undo it and check to see if they're growing, wanted to make sure that they get going here in the next few weeks. Oh, look at that. That one's not too bad. That's a Schumered oak. Did you get to see that? Growing there. So I didn't fence them so that way I can keep an eye on them, and in the coming weeks, couple of weeks, once I make sure that they're all good and I don't need to replant any and contact the company again, then I will do so. I mean, even these Schumered oaks with the tops growing pretty dang well, and the sawtooth, you know, barely had that. So every tree is kind of different, so don't be discouraged if they're growing at different rates, especially those persimmons. They seem to really be kind of a laggard compared to many, like the crabapple, another good one. So really all these are taking off pretty well, so happy with that. Anyway, so I just wanted to mention that. We're gonna go look at the cuttings that we did a little while ago. Good. And see how those are doing. Another neat thing, some of these trees that I did some of the edge feathering with, you can see popple coming up in spots, and this still leafed out and everything. Which was a lot of, there was popple, but there was also birch and a couple of just random stuff. But it's great to just see that woods kind of extend itself when you're doing like I am, and I can see the pines growing in the pockets. So it's a beautiful time of year. So here are the cutting pockets. We can see growth and growth. Looks like that one in there doesn't really have any. Got some growth in there, and also our 6-foot cuttings. Let me try and get you over this. Looks like we got pretty dang good growth in these trees in the middle. Hybrid poplar and hybrid willow. Those all have some kind of growth coming off of it. So honestly, based on what I see, I mean, let's take a look at these cuttings. We got some growth there. Let me zoom out a little bit. Some growth. I mean, I'd say we're looking pretty dang good as far as, do we have any? Yep. As far as success right now, I mean, so far in this pocket, I only see one that doesn't really have any leaves on it. I'm glad those 6-footers are coming, to be honest, because man, at what, I don't know, 15 bucks a pop, it's like, dang, it would stink to have any of those not really come through. Okay, yeah, I think that one doesn't have a ton. These are, that one in the corner, I'm not sure if that's gonna make it, and maybe one more in there. Not positive if that's going to or not. So really, out of all these, 2 or 3 or 4, something like that, out of 30 or so, 24 plus 4, maybe 28. So I'd say that's pretty good germination and success with these cuttings so far. Again, it's the spring. Ooh, look at these pines. Getting bigger and bigger. Not amazing, but from seedlings, it's exciting to see this stuff fill in. I also put some cuttings kind of scattered throughout here. I had some left over, and if you remember, I wanted to see how they did kind of on their own. But I think they would be pretty hard to find in all of these weeds. So I'll try and identify those later on. But that is about it for today, guys. Appreciate you watching. Any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you want to follow along, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you guys in the next video.